Rivals dropped a fresh batch of rankings on us for the class of 2026, and for some Michigan State Spartans, yeah, you're going to like to see where they are ranked.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning into Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below if you think 12th best team going into the Big Ten season is underrated, overrated, or just right for our Michigan State Spartans, because in segments 2 and 3, we roped on our guy, Spencer McLaughlin. Yes, he does great work for Locked On College Football. He did a power ranking of the Big Ten teams, and I just said it, Michigan State right there slotted in at number 12. We have a whole conversation about that. Can Aidan Chiles pull Michigan State to the next tier? And also a little bit about that fun fact that we dropped on yesterday's show, that, hey, Michigan State's opponents, 9 of them are breaking in new starting quarterbacks to their program this year. Is that something? Is that nothing? What is it? But first, guys, let's talk about that certainly is something, and that is Rivals and On3 dropping their fresh batch of Rivals 300 rankings here. And you're going to like to see what we have to say about a few of our commits for the class of 2026, starting with my favorite guy in this class right now, Tyren Wortham. Now, this is a wide receiver out of Sarasota, Florida. Now, he was already highly ranked. He was already a 4-star. He was ranked at 287 overall in the country. Okay, that got even sweeter because he got bumped up all the way to number 112 in the country, just on that border of Michigan State having a top 100 player for the class of 2026. So with that, he got slotted up to number 15 overall for the wide receiver position. Not too shabby for the staff, for Courtney Hawkins to get a great receiver in next year's class. And also, guys, they play great football down in the great state of Florida. He is the number 12th overall kid ranked in Florida. So why on earth did he get moved all the way up here? Yes, he did great in his camps so far this offseason, but it's also what he showed in that junior year at Booker High School down in Florida. He is lightning fast. All right, guys, and he doesn't take many steps to get to his top gear. You throw him a screen pass at the 50-yard line, give it 4, maybe 5 seconds if he jukes a few people out. Then, yeah, you're going to see 6 more points added onto the scoreboard. I mean, this guy gets to his top speed seemingly on the second step. There is no question why this kid is ranked just outside the top 100 players in the country. So his path to Michigan State, this was a really good recruiting win in this June cycle for the Spartans. He was committed to UCF and then visited Georgia. Okay, not too shabby. Also visited Kansas State, visited Michigan State, and you know where that is. He is now part of the class, and also, according to Rivals, your top-ranked kid for 2026. Now, he is not the only guy that is also a 4-star now on Rivals. Colin Campbell, offensive tackle, 6'7", 270-pound kid out of Arizona. He was already a 4-star. He actually moved back just a smidge in the latest rankings on Rivals. Now he is only at 187 overall. I mean, that's still pretty damn good. Getting a top 200 kid in this class, and not just that, but a top 20 offensive tackle. He is ranked number 17 at his position. And in the state of Arizona, number 1. He is the number 1 kid in that class. He had to beat out Utah to get his services. He had a scheduled visit for Washington that never materialized because, well, he committed to Michigan State. So that's 2 4-stars right there. And I got 2 more to go to talk to you guys about. Now, this one came as a surprise. Because during the offseason, we talk about, hey, where's Michigan State going to land in the team rankings? Can they slide in the top 30? And we said, well, they need more 4-stars. When guys get their re-ranks, you're going to have to see some guy go from 3-star to 4-star. Maybe it was guys like Chris Addison. Maybe it was guys like Fasiale, okay? Guys knocking on the door of that 4-star ranking. I never mentioned this kid, though. I never thought that this kid could get a 4-star ranking, but hey, thrilled to be wrong because Eli Bickle. That's right. This is your versatile offensive lineman out of North Branch. He went from unranked on Rivals to 243rd in the class. Not too shabby for Mr. Bickle, again, out of North Branch. Now, he was one of the early commits of this class. He has been with this class since February. And there's not really a lot of fanfare around him. I mean, not to say like North Branch is some remote village in the middle of nowhere, but it certainly isn't in a bustling place where a lot of scouts get out there. They could properly rank him. It's not like there's a lot of top flight camps in that area either. But hey, you know what? Standing at 6'6", 270 pounds, he could play interior. He could play a tackle position. He is athletic, also playing track and field and basketball for North Branch. He seems to be the full package as a fluid athlete at offensive line, and Rivals recognize that. So right now, again, going from unranked to a 4-star, he is now the number 15th ranked interior offensive lineman in the class, and now the number 3 ranked kid in the state of Michigan. So that is a massive credit to this staff, Jim Maholchek, the offensive line coach, for early identification and getting the early commitment from Eli Bickle, a guy that's ranking, well, now has clearly exploded. Now, the fourth 4-star that we got here, Rivals ranked Cade Kaufman, number 286. Now, we will say this. Cade Kaufman was already a 4-star on Rivals. They do this refresh of the rankings, and he slid down nearly 100 spots. He was just inside the top 200. Now he's just inside the top 300. And what I have to say about that, good. Get a chip on this kid's shoulder. No quarterback just turns great for everyone patting them on the back throughout their entire career, telling them how great everything is. No. We're in a really good spot here. I'm sure Cade Kaufman doesn't agree with this. I'm sure he thinks he should be a 5-star. I mean, hey, you want a confident quarterback. But as a fan, I want a kid that's a 4-star, but with a little bit of an edge to him. Him getting knocked down about 100 pegs on the Rivals re-rank, this puts us in a really good situation here. Now, with this said, he is still a top 20 quarterback in the nation, according to Rivals. He is still the number 6 ranked kid in the state of Michigan. So this is still a really good spot for Cade Kaufman. Am I concerned at all about the slide? No. I mean, he's been lighting it up in the off-season camps that he is on. The ball is zipping out of his hand. I'm sure he's set for a great season at East Kentwood High School. So no, I'm not too concerned about this. At the end of the day, still a 4-star, still a top 20 ranked quarterback, still a top 10 kid in the state of Michigan. Now, this kid, what we're going to bring up here, is not a 4-star, or maybe not a 4-star just yet. We're talking about Samson Gash. Now, this is the speedster, record setter for the 100-meter dash in the state of Michigan out of Detroit Catholic Central. He is now inside the top 500 nationally on Rivals. Got a graded 89 by Rivals. So, if you don't know what that means, he's a really high-rated 3-star or just on the cusp of being a low-rated 4-star. So right now, hey, he's also graded an 89 on 24/7 Sports, another recruiting site out there. Now, ESPN, they got him at like a 79. They're treating him as if he's a kid that only has one arm and has never played the game of football in his entire life. So if or when ESPN ever does their re-ranks of the recruiting classes, he could very well be another composite 4-star for this class. But hey, he was outside the top 900 originally. Now he's in the top 500, the number 58 overall receiver on Rivals, and just behind Cade Kaufman in Michigan, the number 7 ranked kid in Michigan. Other notables, Quinn Bucky, he is now graded an 88, the 40th overall interior offensive lineman out of California, not too shabby. And then Eddie Whiting. This is a kid that is always on the cusp of, hey, is he a 3-star? Is he a 4-star? If you look at his offer sheet, pretty much every great program in the nation has offered this kid. So, hey, yes, he is still a 3-star. He is number 33rd ranked tight end in the class, but this is one of the ones where the offer sheet doesn't really match the kid's rankings. So there you have it. Hey, can this class be a top 30 class at the end of the day? Because we've talked about this before. I think that they're going to slide out of the top 30. Right now, they are ranked 35th in the country, and that's 2 reasons. One, it was the lack of 4-stars originally, right? But could this class end with, based on the re-ranks, based on any kids having a great senior year, right now they have 4. Can they end with 5 or 6? They very well could. But it's not just how many 4-stars do you get. It's also your highly rated 3-stars, like kids in the top 800. Okay, originally, Michigan State did not have that many. Now with this Rivals re-rank, try saying that 10 times fast, they have 11 kids in the top 800. So is this like a class that, hey, top 10 in the nation, we're gonna barnstorm to signing day? No, but this is still a class based on the latest re-ranks that you could still be really content with and could flirt for a top 30 class in the nation when it's all said and done in December. Now, guys, we're going to be talking about Big Ten Power Rankings with our guy Spencer McLaughlin here in a hot segment. But first, need to talk everyone's ears off about Gametime, my favorite ticketing app out there, not just for sports games, guys, but hey, how about concert tickets? Because we've all been there. Logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot. And now the show that you've been dying to see, well, it looks like a distant goal that you have. Well, here comes Gametime. because live music, especially in the summer, guys, in an outdoor venue, should be all about making memories, not dealing with the stress of shopping for tickets. Guys, they make getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever, and prices actually drop as it gets closer to the showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Now, hey, if you're a little nervous about, okay, well, I see the section number, I see the seat number, what is the seat actually going to look like? That's where Gametime comes in. They do great jobs with this. Panoramic seat views of your actual seats, so you're already going to know where you're sitting before you even purchase the tickets, guys. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first order. Download the Gametime app today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Folks, you remember this guy from both basketball and football season. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe you're a new listener. And if so, hey, thanks a lot for tuning into Locked On Spartans. Over there, that strapping gentleman, that is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football, of Locked On Ducks. Spencer, last football season, you were called arrogant, you were called brash. But then the basketball season rolled around and you were called delightful. You were called very, very cordial. It's crazy what happens, when you're talking about a juggernaut of a team, and then, well, a basketball team that was just fine in their own right. But anyway, I always enjoy our conversation, Spencer, but we're not here to talk about how great of a person you are. We're here to stir the pot because you over there, you came out with your Big Ten conference rankings. Now, everyone grab a legal pad and a pen. I'm going to rifle through these really quick. If you're listening on the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, the graphic is right up here. Number one, your Michigan State. No, I'm kidding. It's number one, Penn
Wrong
State.
Wrong state, Matthew. Wrong state.
Well, that's okay. We'll get it right one of these times. We'll be up to number one eventually. Number one, Penn State. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, your Oregon Ducks. Number 4, Illinois. Number 5, Indiana. Number 6, Michigan. Number 7, Iowa. Number 8, Minnesota. Number 9, USC. Number 10, Washington. Number 11, Nebraska. And guys, right here at a smooth dozen at number 12, Michigan State. Following the Spartans is Wisconsin at 13, UCLA at 14, Rutgers at 15, Northwestern at 16, Maryland at 17, and then those Purdue Boilermakers, they are the caboose on this Big Ten train. Spencer, okay, look, I'll probably edit this whole part out, but I'm going to do a little bit of business talk with you right now. We're supposed to have, strong opinions, hot takes. I'm supposed to be really upset at you. How could you disrespect our Spartans like this? But actually, that's a very fair ranking for Michigan State.
Thank you.
What's it like to be perfect, Spencer? Just go ahead, take it away.
It's something that I'm trying to cope with so that my ego doesn't get overinflated lest I be arrogant.
I get it.
Of course. What was the final score of that game? Anyway, so
I lost count. It's okay.
It got high very fast, but anyway, the reality with the Big Ten going into this season to me is I'm trying to have the courage to do at the top what few people want to do. And I'm placing all of the hype, pomp, circumstance, and expectations on Penn State that I possibly can.
I like that.
Because there is no better situation for them to come in and win the Big Ten. This is the year. I mean, you have got the core parts and several other ones with upgrades at receiver, which was your greatest weakness, on a team that wasn't just in the playoff last year. They were in the national semifinal one drive. They were one drive from the national championship game. And yeah, James Franklin's come up short in those spots before. I'm not going to sit here and argue that particular point. I heard the same thing about Jim Harbaugh for a long time in this very league. I'm sure the fans of this particular program that you host, Matthew, have no thoughts on
Everyone
that individual.
Everyone is smiling right now, right? Of course.
Yes.
So everyone's wondering, is Mr. Franklin going to get his Connor Stallions? That's just what.
Well, everybody's got to have a guy. You got to look.
It's good to be connected.
Two coaches that no one wants to acknowledge, and everybody has. Your sign stealer and your get back guy.
The get back guy. Yes.
Everybody's got a get back guy. You don't want to point them out because it sounds like you're hiring an intern who you may or may not be paying to show up at these games, who is there to hone in your excessive testosterone boiling over on Saturday afternoons in front of 80,000 fans. So I think Penn State deserves to be in that top slot, to be viewed that way going into the season. For Michigan State specifically, though, Matt, I do want to put them higher because I think Aidan Chiles can be better. I know that they weren't a disaster last year, nor did I think they would be. I would just like to point out, before everybody starts saying I'm an MSU hater and whatnot, what was the biggest win of MSU season last year?
Iowa, which ended up being a really annoying game because where was that team the rest of the season?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But remember, it's year one. You can't expect perfection right away with any staff. Kalen DeBoer struggled at Alabama, for goodness sake. It can take a little while. Some people picked Michigan State to win that game. Some people knew that Michigan State was not a complete and total mess. It's just when you're in that adjustment phase, it can be difficult. Going into this year, I would like Michigan State more if I didn't also like what everyone else is doing in the Big Ten. Sure. Now, if throw the rankings back up there for just a moment so I can explain the differentiation that came into my head. With Michigan State and Nebraska, I've got two coaches who I trust because of a proven track record at their previous stops. I've got two young, incredibly talented, but not fully maximized potential quarterbacks. I've got a couple of systems that I think are identifiable and good. If you swapped Michigan State and Nebraska going into this year, I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't have a major objection. I put Michigan State over Wisconsin. I trust Aidan Chiles more than Billy Edwards Jr. And that's contingent upon, of course, Chiles taking a step forward as a quarterback. But the reason I have them behind Nebraska and Washington and even USC, but particularly those two, Nebraska and Washington, is not so much about what Michigan State isn't doing or won't ever do. It's just I'm not going to overlook what those two programs have done who had, by just one game for sure, better records than Michigan State did a season ago. So Washington's got also a young, unproven, but really talented quarterback who doesn't have as much experience as the other two guys. But going back to the days of the Pac-12, RIP, Jonathan Smith and Jed Fish were both in there. And I know that both of these guys can really coach. So when I look at what Washington brings to the table coming into this year, I like the hires they made to replace outgoing staff like Ryan Walters at defensive coordinator to replace Steve Belichick. I like that they've got a really quality receiver. I still have questions about Michigan State's passing game. I know it doesn't have to be great. As an Oregon guy, I've seen what Jonathan Smith can do with old stretch right and stretch left plays. You can do marvelous things in that regard. I really do look at, I looked at these rankings as three tiers, and I have Michigan State out of that third tier because this is not a projection of conference standings necessarily. If Michigan State were to finish in the 7 or 8 range in the conference, if they were to go 8-4 and be, let's say, 5-4 in conference play,
great.
That wouldn't shock me at all. And I do think they're going to go 3-0 in the non-conference slate. So I think Michigan State has everything to go forward. I just don't know that it's a massive jump. And you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I haven't seen the moves or the sort of off-season buzz that makes people like me think, hey, this team's going to make a sizable step forward. I think it'll be, and I expect it to be, and Michigan State fans should expect it to be, a progression, a step towards where I've seen this program be before, which is the Big Ten championship game. I think Jonathan Smith can get them there. I don't think that all comes together here in year 2, but I do think they should be a better version of, it was a 5-7 team last year, right? Like not far. This should be a bowl team. I fully place that sort of expectation on Michigan State. This should be a bowl team in Jonathan Smith's second season.
I think that they took enough strides to maybe make leaps and bounds on the offensive side of the ball, and it all starts with Aidan Chiles, of course, the protection that they've added through the transfer portal, and just guys returning from last year's team. Plenty of experience on the offensive line. They got some good receivers too, but you can, understand why there's reason to believe that, hey, maybe you can score more than 20 points a game for the first time in 3 seasons. The defense is where the question marks lie, though. That's maybe where the ceiling might be a little bit capped with this team. But I'm glad you did bring up the tiers, because as I'm looking at that, that's one thing I wanted to get to is, okay, does this mean that MSU's in the last tier of the Big Ten? Are they kind of in the middle? But I'm glad you addressed that. But speaking of tiers, I do want to talk about how this graphic sets up for the schedule here for Michigan State, because, hey, we got some good news. We got some good news. You only face one of the top 4 teams, according to our expert Spencer over here. Now, unfortunately, that team is number 1 Penn State. Now, the bad news is that you only face one team in the bottom 4, okay? And that's going to be Maryland, end of the season at Ford Field. So Michigan State, they are playing a bunch of teams right in the middle here. Indiana, Michigan, Iowa, Minnesota, USC, and then you jump Washington number 10, then you play number 11, Nebraska. Lot of room to get into the second tier, beat some of those teams. We'll see. What of the middle tier teams do you think has the greatest chance of sliding down to that third tier? Which one are you selling so far this offseason, Spencer?
Well, obviously, I've put these rankings together over the course of the last several weeks and all the offseason coverage I've been doing here on Locked On College Football. So, if a better way to phrase that question is which one is the most likely, because this is fresh information to me, and this is roughly how I think the conference standings will kind of shake out. It's not what it's based on. I just think this is kind of a good approximation of where everybody should expect to be falling going into this year. If I had to pick one that would go from tier 2, first tier, top 6 teams, second tier, next 6, third tier, final 6. If I had to pick one, I'd keep an eye on Minnesota. Okay. I can see Iowa doing it as well, but frankly, you could talk me into any of them. If Aidan Chiles doesn't protect the football a lot and Michigan State's run game is good but not great, I could see them going in the third tier. If Jaden Mayava is no good at USC and the offense is what it was last year, which is underperforming by Lincoln Riley standards, I could see USC falling down into the third tier. If Washington is horrific in the trenches again, they could get pushed around in this conference.
Yep.
If Nebraska is just, Nebraska, they could fall down. That's all. If Iowa's offense steps back after stepping forward last year because they have a former FCS quarterback who I think Mark Gronowski can be fine and all. I think so. I've seen that FCS jump work. Cam Ward, I've seen it not work so well in other instances. So, I think you can really, really easily make the case for any of them. And I think the one that'll probably get the most pushback is Minnesota. And, PJ Fleck, newly extended PJ Fleck.
That's always newly extended.
Yes,
he's got a 1-year extension every offseason. It's amazing.
He's somebody who is odd, quirky, weird, takes shots or what. Look, has he done remarkable things at Minnesota? Outside of 1 year when they won 11 games, an Outback Bowl, finished in the top 10, no. Yeah. They've never done anything remarkable, but they've never been terrible.
No, they have an identity, which is
they are like Darius Taylor is still there, running back who you can give the ball to 30 to 35 times a game. He's going to give you 150 plus, easy. Yep. And I think that is incredibly valuable. They don't need a lot from the quarterback position. Their defense usually solid. Like they're the Air Force of the Big Ten to me under PJ Fleck. And if you go look at Air Force's history in the Mountain West, which I'm sure plenty of Michigan State fans know already.
Yeah, you're telling us old news here, but
I figured as much.
Yeah.
If you go look at Air Force, they're an incredibly high floor program, but they don't have the same ceiling as everybody else. UNLV just showed, hey, their ceiling is they could win the Mountain West, but boy, we saw their floor for a long time, and they're a bottom dweller. Air Force, as long as Coach Calhoun is there, they're not bottoming out. But it also feels, because there are structural disadvantages they have in the college football world, they're never going to go 13-0, make the playoff. I don't anticipate that. But every year in the Mountain West, they're going to be a 7-10 win team. That's just what they are. And you take a couple of wins off that expectation, that's Minnesota. I feel like they're a 5 minimum, 9 max, and then once every 8 years or so, maybe they pop up and have a 10-11 win campaign. I think that's tougher in the new conference for him, but that's why I had Minnesota as high as I do. I think that surprised a lot of people. I think it surprised a lot of people to know they won 8 games last year. Like,
Yeah,
how would you
certainly.
feel about Michigan State if they were an 8-win team last year going into the season with a coaching staff that's proven and a clear identity of how they want to play football? Like, you'd feel pretty good about that.
Haven't had that in a while around here. A good identity. Hopefully it's going to
Time.
come here in year
Give it
2.
time.
It's got to come here in year 2 of Jonathan Smith, which I do think it will. They got more speed on offense, which is something that Jonathan Smith, Brian Lindgren really had working for them at Oregon State. Joe Rossi, of course, hey, year 2 under his tutelage as a coordinator, you could expect a good jump there, hopefully. But Spencer, before we let you go, enjoy the rest of your day, get you back out on a golf course. I have a question. It doesn't really have to do with the rankings. This is just more of a college football question. This is a fun fact that I discovered over the weekend here. Michigan State, their opponents, 9 of their 12 opponents have new starting quarterbacks going into this season. Now, that is Penn State, Drew Aller, of course. That is Nebraska, Patrick Mahomes 2.0. And then Youngstown State, they returned their guy from last year. How fun is that for the Penguins? Now,
Dangerous.
Of course, not everyone is a new starting quarterback. Like Nico, can you say his last name for me? I just want to test
Iamaleava.
Of course I know how to say it. I just want to see how you do with it. Excellent. Also, Fernando Mendoza from Cal. He's at Indiana. So you have guys that have proven themselves, albeit at other schools. So with all that considered, is that a stat that like we should be excited about? That, hey, we have continuity in East Lansing. Our quarterback's back. Our coordinators are back. We got a lot of returning players, but those other schools, that's right, 9 of them, new starting quarterbacks. Is that cope, or is that legit?
I think that's a non-zero advantage. I mean, one of the biggest general talking points in college football going into this season, in every league really, except for the Big 12, is how many new quarterbacks there are. Go up and down the list
a zillion
of SEC and Big 10 quarterbacks. Who are the veterans? Where are, like, who?
Aidan Chiles.
Aidan Chiles is among the most experienced quarterbacks in the Big 10.
It's amazing.
Factually. That's just factually true. For number of completed passes and thrown passes, games played, whatever you want to look at. He's one of the most veteran. Not the most, but one of the most. I mean, you know, like Mark Gronowski at Iowa is new. And yeah, he's a veteran. He's never played a snap of Big 10 football in his life.
Yeah.
That's pretty new. Drew Aller is veteran, but Dante Moore at Oregon, probably Julian Sayin at Ohio State.
Yep.
Just keep going down the list. You just don't run into the guys that are, and it's the same in the SEC. Arch Manning is exciting. Garrett Nussmeier is a veteran. And then it's a lot of like, I've seen some of DJ Lagway. I've seen some Lenora Sellers. I've seen a little Jackson Arnold, but I don't really know what these guys are. Nobody does. So I think it's a non-zero advantage. I do want to close with this on Michigan State.
Please.
Because in preparing for this segment, I did notice, I think Vegas actually likes Michigan State this year. I think they just hate their schedule. Because I think as far as schedules go in the Big Ten, this is a sneaky tough one. Now,
it is 20th hardest in the nation, according to a few sites out there.
Yeah, that's not a surprising fact to me at all. Mm-hmm. And if you were to make a schedule without Oregon or Ohio State on it, I don't know how much tougher it would get, except if you swapped going to USC for going to Washington. Husky Stadium's a tougher place to play than the Coliseum. Yeah. Michigan State, if they're going to do what we were talking about earlier, take a step forward, make a bowl game, they're going to have to be road warriors this year, because to get to that threshold, I think first 3 games at home, they should be fine, right? Boston College could get sweaty, and Bill O'Brien's a solid coach. You should win that game, right? Yeah. That's one that you look at and go, okay, have to have that one.
Yeah.
But to start Big Ten play at USC at Nebraska is pretty tough. You're probably going to have to find a way to win one of those. And then between Minnesota and Iowa, probably going to have to win one of those on the road. And you go at Indiana. So I think the road schedule here for Michigan State, this is a good thing, though. Because you're not expecting this team, this program right now, to be a conference championship contender, you almost, I think, want to get these hard schedules out of the way.
Okay.
Because it rotates around, right? So Florida's had a brutal schedule the last couple of years. Oklahoma's schedule the last couple of years, terrible. What's it done to their programs? It's placed their coaches right on the hot seat. Oklahoma and Florida have to win this year, or they're firing their head coaches. Oklahoma for sure, Florida most likely. Like, they have to win a certain number of games. but they've got schedules that make that kind of hard. But then once everything rotates around, they won't be given a gauntlet like that again. They'll have schedules that more closely resemble the Texas's and Missouri schedules of the world. And I think that'll likely arrive for Michigan State. Not that it'll ever be easy or a cakewalk,
right.
But goodness gracious, I don't see Purdue on here. Maryland is stashed all the way at the very end.
Man.
There's no Northwestern on here.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have Wisconsin on here.
God, we missed them we always got them when they were
like
great.
of the 6 teams that I have power rated going into this year below Michigan State. What do you have? 1?
I believe we have 2. UCLA as well.
UCLA. Okay, you've got 2 of the 6. That's not easy. So I think that's why the win total, according to FanDuel, is 5.5.
Yep.
I think if you had a more manageable schedule, I'm not kidding, I think this would be a 7.5 total. I really do. And so because you have so many quality teams on there, I think just making a bowl game you chalk up as a successful season, because that means you beat Boston College early on, and then you probably beat 2 of USC, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa and Indiana in those Big Ten road games. And that's a pretty tough road stretch.
We'll take it. I'm glad you said that too, because I've been kind of caught in the middle, because compared to last year, this is a very friendly schedule, you know? Second game of the season on the road at Maryland. All right, just Big Ten play immediately. And then on the road at Boston College. And then, hey, here's Ohio State and Oregon 6 days apart. Like,
yeah.
Compared to last year, this seems great. But then, like, you try to erase last year from your memory. If you just look at this year, not knowing anything else about anything, you would say it's a pretty hard schedule. So glad you brought that up, because, yeah, while I've been saying, hey, it's better, it's still tough, though. It's still tough.
No, this is not a schedule that I would want to have if you had like Ole Miss's situation last year, which was, hey, this is the all-in season. This is
right.
when we should pop. This is when it should be great and glorious. Yeah. This is not a schedule I'd want to have if it were that sort of year.
Great times. Guys, that's Spencer McLaughlin over there at Locked On College Football, also Locked On Ducks. He's just locked on everything, man. And guys, you are all truly the best, all the viewers, all the listeners. We will be back right here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white. But until then, hey, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go green.